Today, we have a survivor story, and in fact, a victory story over something that is impossible out there for medical professionals to deal with and everyday people, everyday person. We're talking about POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and it's in a family of chronic disease similar to dysautonomia. If you've heard any of those terms, POTS or dysautonomia, you know there are no answers out there. Well, today I'm going to be doing an interview with someone very special. Her name is Skye. She's a fashion photographer. She's 26. And I worked with Skye about a year ago. And I can't wait for you to hear her story and see where she is today. So here we go, everybody. Hey, everybody. I'm Maggie MD, functional and holistic medicine physician, and the creator of Transform and the Transform Protocol to turn around any chronic disease, including POTS and dysautonomia, which is the topic of the day. Today, I am really excited to talk with you to share a personal story and a case study on how one brave person, one brave young woman was able to take an impossible situation deemed by her doctors as well to turn around. And I can't wait to show you where she is today. First thing first, though, if you're watching, what I would love to do is if you're an alumni, let me know where you're watching from. Give me a holler. I would love to talk with you, not at you. And today it's going to be a dialogue both ways between me and Skye and us with you in the audience as well. There are going to be a lot of questions that are going to come up for you. There will be some sensitive topics that will be discussed, and it is going to be a very real and vulnerable conversation. And that's why I invited Skye to be here. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Skye on. And Skye, hello. First of all, Skye, where are you located at this moment?
I'm in Australia.
Originally from?
The UK.
Manchester.
All
right, everybody. I would love, so Skye, you're 26, and I would love for everybody and anybody who out there who's dealing with any chronic disease symptoms or POTS or dysautonomia, type in chat. Let Skye know that you're watching. Type in chat, say hi, Skye, or tell us a little bit about what's going on with your health. And if you already have questions top of mind for you that you would like Skye or I to answer, go ahead and put that in chat. That'll be great. Olivia, good to see you. Thank you. So I'm just telling you, Skye, already a lot of your posts and social media posts, and you even did a documentary of this process for you, have been seen by a ton of people. And so you've inspired a ton of people to really understand what POTS and dysautonomia is, and that there is a turnaround and reversal. Olivia is one of those people that is in our audience right now who's been inspired by your story. So many people, right? And Kimberly, alumni, fellow POTSy. I love this. And Kate says, hi, Skye, as well. All right, everybody. So Skye, I would love for you to share where you were about a year ago when we first met.
So about a year ago, I was collapsing every day, if not every other day. I was extremely scared of food, terrified to eat, because when I did, I would collapse and my throat would shut. I lived in a state of terror 24/7. My heart rate would go through the roof, and I felt like I didn't have control over my body or my mind. It was a very, very, very scary time to be in. And I felt like I had no answers, no one.
It sounded like you weren't able to trust your body. And at that point, when your body feels so out of control, you start questioning whether you trust your own mind.
Yeah. And I kind of felt like I was gaslighting myself in a way, because doctors would say, no, there's nothing wrong with you, it's just really bad anxiety. And I was like, well, maybe it is just anxiety. Maybe I am just overreacting. And I stopped listening to myself.
This is a pet peeve of mine, and I don't know how people in the audience are going to hear that. They go into their doctors and they are sure they have these symptoms and there's something really big going on, but they're told either the testing is normal, or there's nothing that we can do to help, or it's anxiety and you need some therapy, or you need to get on some antidepressants or anti-anxiety. How many people with chronic illness, and it seems to be way worse for women than it is for men going in to see a doctor. So, yeah. And so if that has happened to you, type in chat, because this is what, you use the term gaslighting myself. I don't think you're the only one gaslighting yourself. I think as a medical profession with something we don't know what to do with for diagnosis or treatment, it feels as if you're being gaslit by the medical profession.
Yeah, it does. Exactly that. And then you start to, unfortunately, after a while, if you can't find any other answers to what's going on, maybe you start to believe what they're telling you. And that's what I did. And I said, right, okay, well, I'm hopeless. This is my life. And I had no hope left. Hope was gone. It didn't exist for me. So I was like, well, they're right. There is no cure. This is it. This is going to be me for the rest of my life. And I gave up.
But question for you, I met you at 25. When did these symptoms, when you look back, because I love looking at what's really causing these problems, right? When you look back, now that you've learned what you've learned from working with me, my question is, how far back do you think this went to as far as causation? What do you think, when do you think symptoms really started for you?
At the start, I thought it was when I was 24 that I started getting the real symptoms come along. But once I learned what the real symptoms actually were and all the missing pieces of the puzzle, I started to realize that this has been going on since I was 15, after I had glandular fever, also known as mono. And my body never fully recovered. And I was in a state of stress since that age going on, which was causing all these issues as well that I sort of buried and didn't really understand. And once I started to learn all these different issues and what they were, I started to be able to backtrack and go, hold on a minute, that when I was having anxiety attacks all the time, every time after I was eating food, and I started to piece together everything of what everything actually was and what was actually going on.
Yeah. And so the quest for a diagnosis is one of those long roads a lot of people POTS and dysautonomia go through. Did you ever actually get a diagnosis? What was your road to diagnosis or lack thereof?
So I, like many other POTS people, got told I need to go see a heart specialist.
A cardiologist, everybody.
Yep, a cardiologist, because there must be something wrong with my heart, because my heart rate would be extremely high, but also extremely low. So I went to go see a cardiologist, and they said, you look fine to me. But I was very lucky that he knew someone that was a POTS specialist and looked at me and instantly said, you have POTS, but we'll never be able to tell for sure because the tilt table tests and things like that, they're not that accurate. So, but from the looks of it, you might have it. And I thought, I don't know what to do with that, but that's where I was.
But you weren't the only one that didn't know what to do with that. They don't know what to do with that. But here's the really beautiful thing. I don't know who the second specialist that you saw that said, that's really accurately, medically accurate as to the current status of evaluation, which is the cardiologist sent her to likely another cardiologist who said, hey, we could run a tilt table test. We could run all these tests on you, blood tests, this, that, other, but they're all going to come back negative. Now, this is something really important for anybody dealing with POTS dysautonomia. What it is POTS is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. That's just a description of a symptom, one set of symptoms. And that's with postural changes, sitting up, laying down, there's orthostatic, so positional changes, tachycardia, meaning heart rate go fast. So that goes fast and slow. So it's one symptom, okay, that describes a syndrome, okay? So, and the problem is, number one is diagnostics, meaning like, how do you diagnose somebody with this syndrome? Because those aren't necessarily the only symptoms. We're talking about other symptoms that Skye has, and I'm going to ask how many of you have some of these symptoms, which is the chronic fatigue, right? The brain fog, the energy crash, right? The insomnia, or waking up in the middle of the night as if you're running for your life with palpitations, right? Heart rate, or anxiety, waking up with that. Right. And then, what about hormonal pieces where you felt like your adrenaline was going all over the place, or certain times of the month, the symptoms were inexplicably worse than other times. Right. And then now we're wrapping another layer of this is food sensitivities or food allergies or histamine problems. Okay. So then all of a sudden they send you with all these syndrome of symptoms to go to a heart person, a cardiologist, to say, do you actually have POTS? And they honestly will tell you that our tests are really inconclusive and poor. We actually capture a very small percentage. So it doesn't even matter if you get the diagnosis or not. The other cardiologist very perfectly actually said, to Skye, which is, you got it. We already know you got it. It looks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It is a duck, right? And so that's where I love being with POTS or dysautonomia, or even people with long haul big C. The issue with that is that long haul also has exact same sets of syndrome as people with POTS and also dysautonomia. So the name doesn't even matter. Okay. Now, how many of you out there have some or many of these symptoms or any of the symptoms? Type it in chat. Okay. Because this is really common. This is really common. Now, back to you. Okay. You got a diagnosis, not because you qualify by testing, but you got a diagnosis. Once you got the diagnosis, what was the course of treatment action from a medical standpoint for you?
They said to me there was nothing they could do because there was no cure. So I felt there was no options for me. They said, you have POTS, but there's no way we can help you. There's nothing we can do for you. This just is you now. And I looked at them and I said, I can't live like this. I can't live like this. I have no quality of life. And they just said, I'm very sorry. This is now your life.
Let's talk about quality of life. What was your life like from a work life relationship standpoint prior to all this happening at 24? Where were you at with career, social life, your independence?
I was doing great. I lived on my own. I was successful as a fashion photographer. I'd go out with my friends. I'd have loads of energy. I was one of those people that was like the life of the party. I loved it. And it felt like it was all stripped away from me out of nowhere. And I was a person that I didn't even recognize anymore.
Were you able to work?
No. I had to take extended periods of time at home because I stopped being able to walk. My food reactions got way worse. So straight after I'd eat, I would collapse. I would be in A&E most of the week. And they would just say, there's nothing we could do for you. Come back tomorrow if you collapse again. And I said, I'll see you tomorrow. And I saw them tomorrow. I said, I'm back again. And it was constantly like that for over a year, just collapsing on my own, in my apartment. It was terrifying. I had no quality of life.
I wonder how many people out there are experiencing symptoms where they have very low to no quality of life and they're being told that they can't be helped, that nothing can be done. There is no quote unquote CUR either, right? But major impact on your life. Now, I'm curious because, you were in England at the time. Here I am in the United States. You literally exhausted the pool of specialists over where you were to try to deal with some of these symptoms in one way or another, and got no answers and got nowhere. So who referred you to us? How did you actually find us?
So my mum found you because she saw a video just like this one where you were talking to someone that sounded a lot like how I was. And I had given up. So I wasn't advocating for myself. I wasn't looking for answers anymore because I believed that this was it for me for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And I was going to be in full-time care because I couldn't look after myself. So my mum took it upon herself to keep researching and looking and advocating for me. And she saw one of these interviews and said, look, I just need you to watch it. And at first I said, there's no point, Mom, like, I'm not going to get better. This is my life. And she said, just watch the video. And I watched it and she saw my jaw drop and she looked at me and she said, it's you.
Oh my God, I love this. I wonder whose interview it was. We do one of these interviews. We record one of these interviews and case studies almost every single week. So there are so many stories like this. And I appreciate you coming on here and speaking. And we're doing this live. There's no filter. This is Dr. Maggie and Skye, unfiltered, unedited. Mm-hmm. So you're getting these real questions, real time, real answers. So I love this. Thank you for coming on and being such an inspiration and being vulnerable with this.
Thank you for having me.
A lot of people think I got to find a doctor locally. I got to, there's some super special rare unicorn doctor that's going to solve this problem. And I'm going to have to look locally for this. That didn't seem, well, first of all, there was no super special rare unicorn doctor around you. And secondly, there was YouTube. Thank you, YouTube.
Thank you, YouTube.
I love that. Well, and my question for you is, when you watched this video that I interviewed someone else with, what made you realize, like, okay, this is a real kit and caboodle. This is really something different?
Because I thought I'm not alone. Because all these symptoms I was having, the way doctors would talk to me was like I was a rarity that they couldn't solve, right? That I was something that they had never experienced or seen before. So I was like the unknown. So no one knew what to do with me. So it felt like, well, if this is the way the situation is, then it must just be me that's like this. And when I watched the video, it was the first real wave of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. There are other people like me. Yeah.
I would venture to guess in England alone, there's probably at least 100 Skies.
Yeah, definitely.
100 cases just like yours. I know, right? And in the United States, way more. So here's the thing. Where are you now? Before we go into how we got, what happened, I want spoiler alert. We're going to give a spoiler. Where is Skye today? This is a year after we worked together.
I'm not living a normal life. I'm living an extraordinary life. I'm living a life that better than I ever could have even imagined. I'm traveling around Australia. I've just swum in the Great Barrier Reef. I've stayed in the jungle. I jumped out of a plane the other day, guys. I jumped out of a plane. My quality of life is extraordinary. I love the life I live now. I feel glad and so grateful to be able to wake up and live the life that I do fully with so much gratitude. It's amazing. It's amazing. I can't thank you enough.
This is unheard of in the medical world. They would call this a miracle.
Yeah.
It's not a miracle. Okay. And this is what we learned. I'm a medical doctor and I am a scientist. Okay. So let's talk through and let's give the secret sauce as to what was the medicine and what's the science behind how you got better. Because it's been almost a year since I last saw you. We worked together for about 2 months. And we worked with data, your education, right? And working, very closely with you over that 2-month time frame. And my question is, did you get these results just at the end of 2 months, or was it over the past year, was month by month getting better and better and better?
So when I finished the program, instantly I had next to no symptoms. And as time went on, I even felt better and better and better and better because I had the tools to be able to dream my dream life, right? I had that little box of tools that I could refer back to the whole time. So even if I felt like maybe I don't feel as good today, there was no fear because I had the understanding of, oh, right, okay, yeah, that's my body saying it needs this, because I was so in tune with myself. So it only got better and better.
So cause and effect. So I'm going to tell everybody right now listening, okay? Nothing that has happened to Skye, nothing in her story was random. Every single piece of information she just gave you, to me, fits a pattern. Okay, I would say my master level skill, my expertise is in pattern recognition where others don't see it. So I love to solve medical problems and mysteries that other people can't or won't, right? Now, let's look at this puzzle and say, okay, Skye, let's talk about some of the secret sauce pieces. You mentioned, okay, let's list number 1. What was the biggest game changer for you that you learned about yourself, your data?
Food. Because I was collapsing, like I mentioned previously, every time after I ate. So I became very scared of food. So I would only eat certain things. And I said, right, okay, I'm just going to eat these foods, which I called safe foods. Little did I know they were very far from safe, because when I got my food tests, I was eating all the things that I was a 10 on the scale for. Right at the end, guys, I would eat 3 bananas a day. I was off the scale. I would have almond milk in all of my drinks, off the scale. All of these different things I was eating all the time. So then it made sense that my body was having such a massive reaction after I would eat, because it was the food.
Hold on. Food has nothing to do with POTS or dysautonomia, Skye. And there can't possibly be a test or an understanding of the test results that's accurate, telling you that a couple foods was what it was. So based on your data, so here's the thing, everybody, think about this for a second. She said bananas and almonds. Both bananas and almonds are extremely healthy. You can also get them organic. So, does eating healthy solve POTS and the food related problems with POTS or any other chronic illness? The answer is no, because it turned out you said you were eating 3 bananas every day and almonds with almond milk in a smoothie every day.
Yep. And kale as well.
And kale was the other one.
Yep.
Okay. So, you said you had a group of safe foods. How big was this list of safe foods you were eating before the program?
10.
She was on 10 foods that were safe.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that.
And most people, and you saw in the program too, most people come in with the expectation out there that I'm going to get my data and it's going to show I'm allergic to 1 million or sensitive to 1 million things. And I'm going to have to eliminate even more, God forbid, right? What did you end up doing as a result of this data? Did you end up, what happened to that list of 10? By the end of 2 months, were you on 10, less, same, or more foods?
I started to fall in love with food. It was like a whole new opportunity of, wait, you're telling me I can eat 98 and 99%. I just can't have that little 1%. I can do that. That's fine. I've dealt with 10 different foods for this long. And now you're telling me I can have 99% of food?
Yes, I am.
And I learned slowly to be able to fall in love with food again. I had to learn to get over my fear of food because I wouldn't eat as well. So time by time, I started to learn to fall in love with food. And now I eat everything. I mean, everything. Dr. Maggie would come on and I would be there always munching in the background. She's like, there Skye goes again, eating food, because I love food. All of the food. I love it.
But isn't that funny? It was that when Skye, I will tell you guys, one of the things that's really important to me is the work we do on the words that we use. The words that we speak are either a blessing or a curse, right? And I remember the first 3-4 weeks of working with Skye, she kept saying, as a sick person, as a person who's was just in the hospital, like all the time. And I was like, when are we going to say, like, I love what you're saying right now. I love food.
I love food.
Right?
I love food. It's very interesting what you were saying, because my mindset when I started the program was what I explained prior of, I can't be helped. I am hopeless. I am sick. And I was believing that I was the victim, right? I had a victim complex but the problem is I had to shift that. I had to no longer be the victim. I had to be the hero. I had to be the one advocating for myself. I had to be the one to learn to advocate for myself, because being the victim didn't help me. It didn't.
But you had to find the right who had a level of confidence and certainty so high that you can't deny it, right?
Yes.
For me, of course you have a solvable problem. Of course there's a million things we can do. Of course you're not a sick person, right? For me, like when I see somebody like you, and when I saw you and Mom, for example, I was going to be like, I can't wait to see. I always ask when I first meet, what are your biggest outcomes that you must have like in a year? And also in the program, there's also an exercise which is called our dream board. Okay. And I don't allow people to work on it till about 8 or 9 weeks into working with us, because you can't dream when you're that sick. But around week 8 or 9, I remember, and I said to everybody, you got to do your dream board, right? And we talk about what that's like. Let's talk about your dream board at week 8. How was that process for you? What was on it?
So I sat down and, I got all these little pictures out of the person that I wish I could be if I didn't have any symptoms, if I was living my dream life, what would that look like? And at the start, I started very small. I thought maybe I could do some yoga. Oh, that would be really nice if I had that energy. And then I thought, no, like you said to me before, you said dream bigger, dream better, keep going. And I kept on thinking, what else could I do? What's bigger? What's better? I'd love to go traveling. I'd love to go to Australia.
An airplane got added to that.
Yep. So I had jumping out of a plane, and I had me swimming in the Great Barrier Reef with a turtle. I had me and doing all these extraordinary things around Australia, and just within myself as well, like feeling like a really confident, loving version of myself. And I have done every single thing on that mood board. I've swam in the Great Barrier Reef with a turtle. I have jumped out of a plane. I have done every single thing that was on that mood board. And now it's 2025. I'm like, how do I go bigger? How do I go better? What's next?
I want to see your 2025 board. What I would
Incredible.
love to do, a couple things though. Amber over here in chat was talking about how food is a big struggle for me. Certain foods make me anxious and my heart race, and then I'm in a panic attack. People don't actually even realize how there's a big connection between food, histamines, and anxiety, which is for a lot of people with POTS or autoimmune disease or any chronic disease, when they eat certain foods, it can actually trigger allergic type responses mediated by histamines. We all know histamines and antihistamines. But what people don't realize, we were just talking on Wednesday about this in the program with Betty, and we were saying how histamine is not just an allergy, a chemical that's naturally made. It actually is also what we call a brain neurotransmitter. It's a brain hormone. And so when you have these big fluxes in histamines from food, it actually changes that brain level of brain hormone in your brain, histamine in your brain. And guess what that triggers? Anxiety. So you're not crazy or cuckoo. There isn't something, you don't need an antidepressant. And Skye is not a panicky, anxious person. She's a person that has a real medical problem causing histamine issues that's causing brain hormone issues. Boom.
Yeah.
What I want to say is this to Amber and anybody else out there. If you want to know and get clarity around the data around food, right? What's wrong with digestion? What's wrong with food? I need testing. I need data around this. I need to end this food related type issue. I have a whole training around what food mapping is for us. We have a program called My Food Mapping Masterclass as well. So if you want information, I have a free training series on learning how food, histamines, mast cell, all these connections to POTS, hormones are. We have a training series for that. So put food mapping in chat right now, and our team will get that to you. And it's a free training series that you can get, and it's about food mapping. Now, let's move beyond food mapping, because you told me something big. You said the second thing. So food, who knew food was so closely tied to dysautonomia and POTS? By the way, how long after eliminating just bananas, kale, and almond did your symptoms from POTS already see a big difference?
A day. Yeah, guys, a day. That's how important it is with food mapping.
1 day.
1 day.
24 hours.
1 day. What doctors could not solve in years, 1 day of changing my eating. Yeah.
Okay. Who doesn't want this turned around in a day, right? Mm-hmm. Who wants to turn this around in a day? Type it in chat. Linda wrote food mapping. Yeah, anybody else want food mapping information? Type in chat food mapping. Now, there was, is there a second big game changer that you discovered about your data? And that was a big game changer. What's the second thing none of the doctors suspected was the major game changer for you?
Hormones.
Hormones.
Mm-hmm.
Big. And anybody who's heard me say anything about POTS have heard me say that there is an underlying major hormone issue in POTS. Okay, that's the hormones from your ovaries or testicular hormones. There is hormones from your adrenal glands. There is hormones from your thyroid, right? There's hormones that affect blood sugar like insulin, and there's hormones in your brain. So hormones, what did you discover about your hormones based on your data?
So I discovered I had PCOS.
Polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Yep, and this is something that I never knew about before, but I then learned all the things that were linked to it that I was like, no wonder I feel the way I do. So I was an insomniac, right? I could not sleep. I was awake all throughout the night. I was exhausted, but I was tired and wired, okay? My eyes were wide open. I was wide awake, but I could not sleep. And throughout the day, I was exhausted, exhausted. And it's because my cortisol levels were so high at night,
when it should be low.
So I was working literally in reverse. I had no boost in the morning to wake me up at all. My mum said it was like waking up the Grinch every day, because it was. I could not get out of bed. But throughout the night, I was wide awake. And once I started to learn about my hormones, and I had this massive imbalance and I had PCOS, I thought, well, that's already one that makes so much sense as to why. And two, I'm in hospital at the same time every single month. Every single month. And it was just before I was due on at that month. That's when I would come on. And I
Yep.
asked doctors, could there be something wrong with me hormonally? Because I always go into hospital just before I'm due on. And they said, no, there's no link there whatsoever. And of course, there was a massive link.
Of course there's a link, and we talk about that. So when you said monthly, there were certain times of the month where you were so you found out that you had polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a pattern I teach a lot. And
Mhm.
I find there's specifically a couple types of patterns that really is a triggering event for POTS and dysautonomia. So that's one of the patterns, right?
Yep.
Question is, once number one, you got the right testing. Okay. We did saliva hormone testing. Number two, we educated you on what these patterns were. Number three, what did you end up doing to be able to fix these hormones? These are fixable. You're not doomed just because your hormones suck, right? So what'd you do?
One was lifestyle change, because my cortisol was working backwards. So I had to find ways and to be able to lower my cortisol in the evenings and make myself feel more calm, and then in the day up my cortisol level. So I had to learn how I could control my own cortisol levels, which was so interesting because it was kind of like my energy was in my hands. And I was thinking, well, what time of the day do I want to place this energy? What time do I need a little bit less energy? And I was starting to learn how I could shift it through lifestyle change, food, different things I could do to decrease my cortisol, meditation, lifestyle. It was really interesting. And food as well, to be able to balance hormones, and things like Defend Her were amazing.
Well, so you mentioned touch on a lot of things, and we just so everybody knows is we work with hormones in various different programs of ours. Our main foundations program. We also have a specific hormone program called My Hormone Masterclass that's focused on ovarian and adrenal hormones. That being said, and if you're interested in getting more information and learning more like what symptoms are hormone related, we have a hormone checklist and a guide. Put that in chat and can get that to you. But she mentioned a couple of things. What are the things that can be done? She mentioned lifestyle. So yes, there are things that you can do. Lifestyle. She mentioned yoga, meditation, right? There were food things, and food piece of this is important because can food allergies and food sensitivities impact and change hormones? You betcha. Okay. The other aspect of this is digestion. We didn't even touch on that because 50% of your reaction to food is related to being intolerant of those couple things. But the other 50% is your dang digestion. So, Skye, what did you learn about the digestion piece for you?
My digestion sucked.
Sucks.
It was so bad. And it was non-existent. My digestion, it was all over the place, my stomach, it was so interesting. So learning about digestion and like stomach acid levels and what kind of levels I actually need to be able to absorb the nutrients from food, it was so interesting because I was like, well, no wonder I don't feel good. Anything that I am eating, which is only this amount of the things that I think I can eat, I'm not getting any nutrients from it anyway.
You
Because
weren't.
my stomach isn't absorbing anything.
Well, how the heck do you expect to get rid of brain fog or chronic fatigue or problems with weight or something, or get results on anything when you're not even digesting or absorbing any of your food, medication, or supplements?
Yeah.
Right. So for me, like the order of operations and how you deal with what and when is really critical. You got to deal with digestion as one of the first steps.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. You need to set the foundation.
Well, the other piece she mentioned was the sleep thing. And I just wanted to tie in. We're going to bonus. I'm telling you some root causes here. And if you're learning something, put one thing you learned in chat already. That'd be really super awesome. I love to teach. I love to look at your data. I love to teach, and I love to tie pieces together where others won't or can't, right? So one of the things around the sleep thing is she mentioned that her energy and her cortisol levels. So a reminder is that adrenal cortisol is supposed to go up in the morning and then it's supposed to go down later in the day. And pretty commonly, sometimes in people with POTS, we see a reversal of that pattern. Okay. And the question to me is not just lifestyle, food, but is there supplementation that you can learn to actually fix that or rearrange that pattern? And the answer is yes, yes, and hell yes. And Skye mentioned some of those supplements. For example, like taking a product like Defend Her really helps get rid of some of those excess hormones from her ovaries, right? She had always talked about some of the adrenal supplementations. Adrenal supplementation can be and knowing what it's not, your adrenals aren't just high or low. There are specific patterns is in that is linked with POTS or dysautonomia or mast cell. So how were you able to pinpoint exactly what supplements and when to take for your hormones or your adrenals? That was really helpful.
Yeah, so Defenta was really helpful. And there was one as well, I'm trying to remember the name of it, that had ashwagandha in it.
Yep.
And that was incredible because it works as an adaptogen. So because it wasn't taking my cortisol away, it wasn't trying to cause more of an imbalance again of trying to take it away.
Yeah.
It was adapting to the actual cortisol cell and just making sure it didn't go past a certain point, right?
Okay,
So my cortisol wasn't disappearing, but it was being managed. And then that way, I started to feel like in the evenings, I could relax a little bit more. Because one thing I want to touch on is insomnia as one of the symptoms is so incredibly debilitating.
Awful.
Because I could not relax. I could not sleep. And I was exhausted 24/7. And the only way that I felt at that time I could control it was to drink alcohol. And I drank every single night. And I was basically drinking myself to sleep because I felt that was the only way before finding ashwagandha and Defenta that I would be able to actually sleep. And that's how important cortisol levels are.
Whoa. So everybody, I want to pay attention to this. What Skye is saying is that, the symptoms from food, blood sugar, and hormones were so bad, creating these POTS-like symptoms, but then this awful insomnia at night, that she was using substances to self-medicate for some of these symptoms. And this is really common and courageous and brave for her to share. And how many of you, and I myself, I'm going to tell you this, how many of you have used substances, and for me, alcohol as well, where it's like, my anxiety is so bad, my palpitations are so bad, or my fear of not being able to sleep is so bad, I'm going to go drink a bunch to make sure I actually fall asleep. But here's the problem. You don't stay asleep with that. And then boom, a couple hours later, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., you're like, and your heart rate's going like this, and you're sitting here like panicked, and you're like, crap. Substance abuse or substance overuse or substance to mask is a really big problem for people with chronic disease.
Absolutely.
And you were very brave and courageous as you went through your process. I mean, Skye would be sharing with us, like, and in our community, that very honestly, like, didn't drink this weekend, felt great, right? And there were reports sometimes had one drink, and you were the accountability and the community was a really big piece for you.
Yeah, I definitely think the accountability was massive because the guys that are in Transform or thinking about coming in, this sense of community, I cannot stress enough, changed my life. And I still talk to my pods now. I caught up with them the other day. Hey guys, how you doing? A year later. Okay. These are friends that are made for life, but there were also people that when I was thinking, oh, do you know what? I really need help with this. There was going to be other people that are going through the same thing on the program at the same time as you. And for me, one of those things that I felt like I needed accountability on was my drinking, because I knew that was going to be one of the pieces of the puzzle that I needed to fit back in.
Yeah.
So, in able to do that, I had this community where I could sit and say, guys, I'm going to be honest, I have a drinking problem, and it's the only way that I felt in the past I could manage my symptoms. Yeah. And so many other people reached out and said, I've been doing the same. Let's buddy up. I'll keep you accountable. You keep me accountable. And I had little accountability buddies, and they helped me along the way. Because remember, guys, like I said before, the biggest thing I learned was that I wasn't alone. There were so many people like me. And I'm sure in the chat right now, there are so many people like me. So having that accountability buddy was amazing.
So, Skye, people don't realize that, number one, you said you're not alone. But how do you find out you're not alone? Well, that's what community and education is about, like safe space, right? And so I actually want to, since we're talking about hormones, I actually want to give anybody who's watching right now and insiders, I want to give a special invitation and shout out to work with me on your hormones. We're actually in February. We're going to be doing a Love Yourself 5 days to reset your hormones. And that's going to be working with me. And I want to give you guys early access to this to sign up for it because there's been a whole heck of a lot of planning that went into this. And we're going to be spending a lot of time together. And you're going to be learning the secrets of what it's going to take to actually fix and balance, reset your hormones, right? So what I want to do is put a link in chat for those of you to get, we're not even starting registration until next week, but I'm going to give you guys early bird access to be able to do that. So there's a link that's going to be in chat if you want to join me, and it's during Valentine's week in America, where we're going to spend a whole week together, you, me, in a room. All right. And it's the Love Yourself 5 day to reset your hormones. If you want to do that, work with me in a live workshop 5 days to do that. I would be excited to see, meet, and work with you. Now let's go back to hormones. Big, right? And that was her data, right? She educated herself. There was a lot of different tools she had with the hormones. Where are your hormones at now? Because you mentioned before, monthly was like hell on wheels and you would be back in the hospital. Where are your hormones at now?
Great. Good. I used to have like a big swing, like I said before, when I was like, right, okay, this time a month I'm in hospital. I've got to check the date and be like, what date is it? When am I due one again? I can't even remember because my body doesn't have any fluctuation throughout the month. My body is just pretty much the same throughout the whole month. And before that would have been absolutely unheard of. Unheard of. I couldn't even walk. I struggled to breathe. Everything was 10 times exaggerated at that time of the month. And now, nothing. No swings. Nothing.
Nothing. How would you like to have no problems with your hormones? Who would like no problems with their hormones? Type in chat. No problems. I would love that.
And to be able to sleep like a baby. Yeah, that's a good one as well. I bet you want that.
Who wants to sleep like a baby? All right. I would love to see all of you guys in the 5 day hormone reset with me in February, and make sure you register. And then just alumni, I know there's a lot of alumni watching. Watch for your special invite in an email coming to you guys next week. Okay. Now let's go through. I want to ask, in this journey, what was one thing you learned about yourself? Right. I mean, this is a big medical, scientific journey that you went on with me. Right. And with the community, you went into a lot of personal growth, realizations, right? What's one thing that you learned about yourself as something that was a major game changer?
Mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Mindset. I believed I was a sick person that couldn't be cured. I believed I was sick. I walked like I was sick. I talked like I was sick. I had labeled myself and I put myself in this box and I said, this is my box. I can't get out of it. And I had to unlearn that, right? Okay, I had to learn how to slowly chip away at this box. And Maggie was there too, breaking the box down, hammer it, going, get out, come on, stop doing that. But in doing that, I wasn't advocating for myself. I wasn't helping myself, right? And one of the biggest tools that I found to be able to break that box down was gratitude, okay? Because it's very easy when you're going through a program like this to kind of be, I guess, harsh on yourself at times and say like, oh, I should be doing more right now. I should feel better. But I woke up and just writing down, today I was able to do this and I couldn't do this yesterday. How amazing is that? I haven't done that in 2 years. Because then you're in a space of gratitude, right? Where you're looking for those next wins and you're celebrating. And the best thing Transform does is we celebrate not only our own wins, but each other's wins as well. And it got me so excited, right, guys? Because I was writing down these little like wins. And then by the end of the week, I had like a list this big and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to share. They're going to be so excited. I've been able to do this and that because I was looking for it. I was looking for it and I was seeing it in front of me happening. And it was amazing. So gratitude and learning how to practice gratitude was one of the biggest game changers in being able to change my mindset. Yeah.
Wow. And for me, like, it ties into a couple of different, we have a whole curriculum in our foundations program, and it's about mindset to mind growth. We don't want our mind to be set somewhere. We want it to grow and change, grow and change.
Yeah.
The other aspect of this is what you don't measure doesn't improve. So a example would be her and her gratitude things that she wrote down is measurable mind growth, right? And progress. The other thing is even the dream board exercise that you did and seeing, checking, ticking off one at each as you go on. And at the end of the year, you actually did every single thing on your freaking dream board. That is what I call key performance indicators, KPIs, that you were successful, really not just practicing, but living in your new story and the mind growth. You don't have mindset anymore. You have mind growth.
Yep.
Mind growth, mind expansion.
And having a community to share that with and explore that with and go over the little bumps and hurdles as well that comes with it within that is beautiful, because you're not alone going through this process. You're going through it with other people and sharing your stories and boosting each other up and being able to see other people's success as well going through, and what they're grateful for and what they're celebrating that week really pushes you on as well. So it's such a supportive and positive community. It's amazing.
I love that. So to me, we talked about here some of the data that Skye needed, right? We talked about here, with her hormones, with her food mapping. We didn't even touch on some of the other data points like thyroid, some of the blood work and vitamins and minerals and what her cells were actually doing. We didn't go into a lot of those other pieces, but I wanted to hit the big heavy hitters here for everybody. And then I want to talk about, because a lot of people here are watching for somebody else, or they know somebody who has POTS and dysautonomia, or they're the support person or the advocate. Your mom was the one who found us.
Yeah.
And despite your resistance, she said, Skye, you need to watch this. She fought for you.
Yeah.
And basically sat your ass down in front of the TV and said, watch this.
Yeah.
I would love to know what this journey has been. What do you think, where is mom and dad at in this journey today? Because they're your biggest advocates.
They're so incredibly proud of me. And I want to say to anyone that is advocating either for themselves or for someone else, you are doing an amazing thing for them. I genuinely believe I owe my mum my life, because I felt like I had no quality of life. I was collapsing right in front of her. And one day I looked her in the eyes and I said, I'm really sorry. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore, Mum. And for her to hear that come out of my mouth, she knew I'd given up. She knew I'd given up. And it's so scary for loved ones around to see someone go through that and change as well. I was very irritable and angry at the world, and that I pushed back onto her, and she felt like she was in a really hopeless situation. And the thing is, going through this program, it wasn't just for me. I helped my whole family. They got their daughter back, because I genuinely felt like, guys, this was it. This was it. I was not gonna live anymore, because I didn't want to live the life I was living. That's how serious the symptoms of POTS can, feel. Yeah. And when my mum was smiling at me when I was going through the program, and I just said, what? And she said, you're you again. I've got you back. You're there. And I owe her so much for putting me through this program, because she genuinely saved my life, guys. Putting me in this program genuinely saved my life. And not only that, gave me the opportunity and the building blocks to create a dream life for myself. And I'm so grateful for Maggie and my mom in this journey, and my dad. So grateful. So if you're watching for yourself or for someone else, it saved my life. So I cannot say, however much, it is so worth it. It's so worth it for you and the people around you.
Wow. Okay. Because I think I just want to bring it back to where we started here, of where Skye was a year ago and where she is today. And I mean, this is full circle coming back. And to me, based on what you're telling me, you're better than you were at 15.
Absolutely. Oh, a million miles better.
That's so
I
good.
I love it. I have a mindset now where I'm constantly like, oh, well, I could improve this area of my life a little bit more. Oh, what about this? Oh, maybe
Well,
I could do this a little bit more.
so here's the thing. Let's go back to the dream board. We had 2024 dream board. Everything was ticked off. So right now, what's in store for 2025 dream board for Skye?
Woo! I honestly, guys, I feel like the world is my oyster. I want to go to the USA.
Really?
I want to travel around the USA. I want to do Asia. I want to go, guys, I want to go worldwide because I want to go bigger. I want to go better. And I want to carry on making art, creativity, talking to all of you guys and still sharing my experience as well and pushing you guys on at home because you can do it. You can do it too. And I feel so incredibly lucky that now I'm in this situation, this position that I'm like, what can I do next? What can I do next? How do I go bigger? How do I go better? So yeah, I'm really, really excited.
When someone tells me what their outcomes or the dreams they want in the next 12 months is, I'm always like, go bigger, go bigger, go bigger.
Yep.
I already see it.
When
right?
I first met Dr. Maggie, you said to me, you know, if you could have one outcome from this whole program, what would it be? And I said, oh, just to feel better. And you looked at me and said, no, absolutely not. Dream bigger, dream better. And I said to you, to go to Australia. Guys, I'm here right now in Australia.
I said that to you, and I said, and when you're in Australia, let's do a live interview together.
Yep. And here we are. It's crazy. It's
True.
amazing.
I love this. Thank you so much, Skye, and thank you for sharing your journey. It's so inspiring. And tell mom and dad I said hello, and they are the heroes here, also with you, because they advocated and they fought for you.
Yeah.
I remember mom in the background. Hee hee.
Yeah.
It was so cool to see like some of the support people that are, helping us get better every day. So, yeah. So everybody, couple things. All right. A lot of takeaways. Thank you for all the comments here, but I want to reiterate a couple things. If you want to learn more about, these connections the Skye is making about POTS and dysautonomia with food, blood sugar, insomnia, histamines, digestion, food allergies, and how to solve those symptoms, and how to like really turn POTS around, we have a free POTS training series for you. Put POTS training series in chat and we'll get that to you. If you already know, you're like, I need to speak with somebody on Dr. Maggie's team. I want to get a strategy going around this. On my dream board is ending POTS this year. Then book a call with us. One of our health strategists would love to meet with you to learn more about what's going on. And we can really create your journey through 2024 and how you can get better too, right? And then in the meantime, we are in February going into hormone, Valentine's week in month in February. I'm just going to invite everybody here, including all the alumni. And alumni, you'll get your special invite in the email next week. But the rest of everybody here, you're getting the sneak peek early invite to join my Love Yourself 5 days to reset your hormones. That's happening the week of Valentine's, where I'll be in a live workshopping in this with you guys. It's going to be action packed every single day. I can't wait. So there's a link in chat for you guys to join the 5-day hormone challenge with me. This is the first time we're actually doing the hormone reset in this way. So I can't wait to share all the resources, guides, checklists, prizes, things that we're going to be doing during the hormone reset week. So I would love to invite as many of you who want to work with me on hormones to join us and our community in the week of Valentine's. So that before I take off, I'm going to ask Skye one question, which is, there are literally at least 1 million Skies out there and 1 million set of parents out there dealing with somebody who has POTS, dysautonomia, long haul, or has the symptoms without a diagnosis. What would be your advice for somebody sitting out there, Skye?
Don't give up hope. Do not give up hope. It's possible. It is possible to get better. It's possible to get yourself back. It's possible to do all these things. Do not, whatever you do, do not give up hope. Don't give up hope, because I'm here right now telling you that I'm living the most amazing life that I could never imagined. And if I told that to myself when I was in my hospital bed giving up, I wouldn't believe myself.
You didn't believe it.
I didn't believe it.
I was like,
so I'm
come on,
asking you now. So I'm asking you now, if you can do anything today, believe it. Believe and advocate for yourself and say, I'm going to do this for me because I have hope. I have hope and I could do it and I can get better because you can. And I believe in you. So I want you to believe in yourself.
I have a last word to that. I love a follow up to that comment, which is, you know what? Hope is what I eat for breakfast. Okay. We start the day with hope, right? We start the day with hope, but we end the day with data, education, and your outcomes, results.
Exactly.
We end the day with your results. So love it. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And Skye, thank you for gracing us all the way from Australia. And I'm looking forward to you when you come to the US. I hope that we're going to be able to meet up in person. We could do a live interview next to each other. How about that?
Absolutely. That would be amazing.
That is a wrap, everybody. Have a wonderful night.